Hello and welcome to another episode of Radio C, a weekly show dissecting news highlights in and around the American University in Cairo, brought to you by the Caravan. I'm your host, Basant Samhout, and this week we're diving into the modern-day tragedy of parking at AUC. But first, allow me to go over the final celebrations of the Centennial that commenced last Wednesday. AUC went out with a bang, starting with the Community Festival on February 15th and ending it with the bright fireworks of the Centennial Nights on the 17th. It's a special time for AUC, who's been celebrating the Centennial over the past year with different exciting events. But with all these fancy festivities, it almost feels like if AUC were a person, they'd be those people who mandate everyone into birthday week celebrations. In this final week of festivities, there were lively performances by different student entities. In the Community Carnival, there were live performances by different students in front of the library. There was also a VR booth where you can get to see a futuristic vision of AUC over the coming 100 years, and an international food festival to satisfy the cravings of every foodie out there wanting to taste a bite from every region in the world. That's not all, because there was a fashion show featuring fashion looks from the 1920s all the way to the present and even maybe peeking into the future. The models on the show were AUC alumni, and some of the designs were by our very own talented AUC students. And for the students who missed out on Saturday, some of the carnival facilities were still available for use for a couple of days after the carnival, like the VR booth. And there were also a bunch of beautiful, bubbly performances ranging from folklore to salsa and African dance. The Centennial Night, on the other hand, was even more and more extravagant as light shows and 3D mapping designs decorated Gate 1. Fun fact, the light show used brand new technology, lit tubes, used for the first time in Egypt. And that's not all, as AUC hosted our very own board of trustee, Ronald Alyoubi, to tell us about humanizing artificial intelligence. Now, with all this going on, how can AUC expect to host its attendees without enough parking spaces? There are exactly 2,208 parking spaces for around 7,000 students and faculty. That's not even counting administrative staff. So how does the parking office cope with all this? I asked Mr. Mohamed Khayrat from the parking office, and he said that on the daily, the office is often able to handle parking, with parking rush hours usually before 11:30 classes. But what really causes an issue are events. Where would the guests park? And if a specific parking is closed off for the guests, then where would the students go? When there's such a deadlock and full parking spaces, the office resorts to informing the outer gates of the university so the visitors are informed to save their breath and just park outside. For the foreseeable future, there's not much that can be done. When I asked Mr. Khayrat, he said that there aren't any projects for expanding the AUC parking lot happening anytime soon, at least that he's aware of. The parking office can send suggestions, but any decisions for expanding the parking lot or making any changes has to happen in tandem with the security office and the University Projects and Maintenance Administration. It's very frustrating. What are we paying for? Why do we pay parking fees coming in if parking isn't even guaranteed? Unfortunately, parking spaces are limited worldwide, so most universities enforce these fees to encourage students to carpool or utilize different modes of transport. It's frustrating, but there's not much we can do. And that brings our episode to an end. I would like to thank Mr. Mohamed Khayrat from the parking office for providing the information on the AUC parking lot. Radio C is brought to you by the Caravan. The first issue finally comes out tomorrow, so don't forget to grab your copy. You can also visit us at auccaravan.com for more news stories. Did you enjoy the Centennial Celebrations? And does parking pose a major inconvenience for you? Tell us what you think in the comments and make sure to follow and share our podcast. Don't forget to tune in next week for the latest news. Thanks for listening.
Radio C.